Hey, welcome back. So today in this video I want to share with you my timeline or my journey on when I started to make money. So this is basically like right when I first started to work back in like undergraduate college to right now with an engineer salary. So you're going to see in progression how much I made from my first job till right now. I know I feel like I'm doing this in a pretty bad economic situation right now, but I'm doing this to basically show you a sense of reality. You're not going to start from like minimum wage to really high paying salary right away, although there's some cases like that. But realistically, I want to show you like what will probably happen to you. I mean, you have to build work ethics, you have to build skills in order to eventually gradually see the progression of how much you make. So this is more of a down-to-earth, realistic progression, not so much like a show-off kind of thing. Alright, so let's get started. This is actually my first job. So back in 2013, one of my family friends, they own a restaurant and they were just opening up. They wanted someone to, look fresh and new, so they hired me. But unfortunately, it was a pretty horrible experience because it was just fresh and brand new. It was a fresh restaurant, grand opening. They didn't really know how to structure that restaurant, and they didn't really know how to tell people what to do. They hired lots of new people, so they had no experience at all. The restaurant was brand new. You have new hirees, so no one knew what they were doing. It wasn't fun for me because, well, it was brand new, so I didn't really know too much about what I was doing. I didn't know what they were expecting from me. And I worked like almost 10 hours a day. It ranged from like 3 days the first week just because they were adjusting, and then eventually 7 days a week, working like 10 hours again. So this is, very tiring. But even though it was tiring and miserable, I do advise everyone to at least work in retail or work in a restaurant, and that way they know, how to build like customer service skills. It builds character, but overall it only builds character because it sucks. No one likes to deal with complaining customers, lots of rude people, just dealing with things that can go wrong, that will go wrong. It makes you quick to your feet, and overall it just makes you work harder. So like you really build work ethics when you work in a restaurant or when you work in retail because you deal with customers, you deal with people. And so at the end of all of this is just during my summer 2013, after my first year, I only got like $1,000 cash for this. Really, I only worked in this position for like 1 month because at that time I started like midway during summer and then I have to go back to school. So if you do the math, like $1,000 a month, that's, below minimum wage at that time. I think it was like around, let's say, $5 an hour. I think minimum wage was like $7 or $8 per hour at that time. So $5 an hour, that's not too much, but me getting anything at all at that time, that was like, the most exciting thing in my life. That was something I actually worked hard for. I didn't just get like Christmas money or birthday money. This was something I actually worked for. And although it was tiring, I was very happy I received money. So the next job I got was actually after going back to school, I got a job as an undergraduate lab assistant. So because of my restaurant job and that experience, that actually helped me land this job. I remember even during the interview, I told them, oh, I used to work in a restaurant. And the lab manager, he was like, oh, great, because you're going to be doing a lot of that anyway. Basically what you do as an undergrad lab assistant is like, you're just a glorified dishwasher for science. So you'll be washing like beakers and test tubes that, lab students would be using for their experiments. And then at the end of the day, once they're done with the experiment, they would just leave it out there, and then that's where I come along and then I'd empty out their experiment and just wash it for the next round. So this is during the second year of my undergraduate college. I worked there for like 2 quarters, and I got paid like $8 an hour, which was like minimum wage at the time, through FAFSA, through the government financial aid. FAFSA, using their work-study program. And so because of this whole restaurant experience, I worked really fast, worked really hard. I could only get like part-time for that because, when you're a student, you can only work part-time, 20 hours. I remember I used to sneakily add in like an extra 30 minutes on my timesheet because, I would always finish faster than the amount of time that was given to me. Sorry if you feel like I'm dishonest, but I felt like I deserved it. The next job I got was during my 3rd year. So again, I'm just going in chronological order. This is during my 3rd year. I got a job as an undergraduate greenhouse assistant. Basically another glorified dishwasher, except now in a greenhouse. So that greenhouse, like they had plants and pots and so on for their research. I just washed their pots after they would finish experimenting with the plants. And so I was just spending my whole day pretty much bleaching and like disinfecting this whole pot. And I would do that for 2 hours every single day, Monday through Friday. But the bad thing was that it was in a greenhouse, so it was really hot. And this was back in Riverside, California, where during that time it was basically like the peak of the drought. I was like dying during summer, and we would wash these things outside in the environment. It wasn't like indoors in that lab with air conditioning. It was like outdoors, 100 degrees or more all summer long, and it was just, it was miserable. So it was boring, it was hot, it was dangerous because I had to, deal with bleach a lot. Worked outside. Again, I didn't enjoy it. With this job, I got paid through FAFSA, again, using the government work study. Got paid $8 an hour, and so it was the same pay as the lab assistant job, which, then again, looking back at it, I wish I had kept the lab assistant job, because, it was a better environment, more fun, less dangerous, and the conditions overall, it did not suck. The next job I found was an undergraduate research assistant. So this was me working both, I guess, part-time with the greenhouse assistant and as a research assistant. So I found this job through my career center. It was just me going to a career center event where they would give out free food and have like all these employers. But I mostly went there for the free food, and also on that night I also got a job, so how can I complain about that? So what I did in that job was basically looked at little microbes under a microscope, and I basically just did some like lab work. It wasn't too different from like a normal chemistry experiment. I basically just followed the instructions and did whatever you told us to do. But that really helped build my resume and experience, and I also got paid a lot for that. Well, paid more so than my other jobs. So at that time, this is back in like 2014, 2015, that was equivalent to $10 an hour. So going from like $5 an hour at the restaurant, working really hard, to $8 an hour through FAFSA, to $10 an hour. You're going from $8 to $10 an hour, that $2 extra, that was just like the best feeling in the whole world. That's like a 25% raise, as you'd say, going from $8 to $10. And I worked indoors, so it wasn't miserable, just going from like the greenhouse assistant, working outside, and then going to the air-conditioned environment, getting paid more, doing less hard work. I felt so rich at that time. I don't know, just $10 an hour. Again, back as a college student, that just feels like a lot of money to you. I would actually go out and like eat sushi for once. That was the time when I could actually splurge on myself or just enjoy myself for a little while. Just thinking back at it, it sort of feels like sad, just because like I guess now I make like a lot more than that, but just enjoying the little things in life, that can go a long way. The next job I had was during graduate school. And graduate school is really expensive. It's way more expensive than undergrad, because more than likely you will not be getting any sort of grants or scholarships if you're going for your master's. So that means I'll be coming out with a lot of student loans. Thank goodness for this job though, I was lucky enough to get a graduate teaching assistant at my graduate school. So I was a TA for biology during the winter quarter, and I was a TA for chemistry during the summer quarter. And let me tell you, I suck at biology. I don't even know, I just applied to the job, but I didn't think I would get in. They just gave it to me because they were so desperate to find anyone who would teach this class. They said, oh yeah, you'll be fine, just go over the book, just go over some general knowledge. Students listen to you, don't worry about it. They just threw me in the water and expected me to swim. But because I have a conscience, I feel bad. I don't want to teach my students, meaningless information or just be a horrible TA. So I was a good TA. I went out of my way to read the book with them. I went out of my way to go on YouTube and learn all the information that they're learning and explain it in a way where they could actually learn. I didn't want to say anything wrong in front of my students, because that would just make myself look bad, and that could affect their grades. In the end, this teaching position paid for my tuition. So my tuition cost $4,500 per quarter. So this position basically paid $4,500 on top of $2,000 a month. And each quarter is about 3 months. So my tuition was completely free, $4,500 free, plus $6,000 because I worked for 3 months. So in total, this one position for one quarter basically gave me $10,000 for this one quarter. And that was just me being a TA for biology. Then I went on to teach chemistry. I didn't have summer classes, so I just taught during summer for summer school. Summer was much faster. I think it was only 2 months at that time, but I still got paid $2,000 a month. So in total, I worked 5 months. So that's $10,000 plus $4,500 tuition. That's basically $14,000 just for being a TA. I feel like this video is going to be pretty long, but anyway, the next job I got was a research intern. So on top of me being a TA, this is during the summer of my graduate school, so back in 2017 I think, I was able to get this position because of my previous experience during undergrad with that PhD student, basically me just counting microbes and doing lab work. Again, that really helped my resume. All I did was basically do the same thing. I worked 4 hours a day for 3 or 4 days a week on top of school, my TA, and this position, but again, it wasn't so hard that I was stressed or anything. The good thing about this internship was that it paid $17 per hour, and this is just an internship position. Imagine being a full-time position. I was just getting that taste of full-time experience. Now, finally, now is the real deal eventually that intern position became a full-time position. I became a research associate rather than research intern. So how I was able to get this position was that one employee who worked there, she left to get her PhD, and then I had another employee who left. So basically I was like the only one with experience at that position. Yes, I did have to get more responsibilities going from intern to this research associate, but like, it wasn't too hard to adjust to. The bad thing was that I didn't really find any growth to this position, and like it was a waste of my time and my degree, so I went to school for my master's in environmental engineering. But this was like a research associate dealing with like cancer cells, so I didn't see any relationship or any link to that. I spent so much time trying to get this degree that I wouldn't use in the future. It just didn't make sense. So yes, although I felt like I wasted my time, that pay was pretty sweet. I did end up making $63,000 a year on that job. Like that was what they offered me, $63,000 per year. That equates to $30.28 per hour if you do the math. And then the cool thing about this was also after like 6 months of me working there, the manager of that project, he had like an extra boost in pay, so everyone else got a pay raise too. It went from $63,000 per year to $69,300 a year. That was like a, 10% bonus or 10% increase in raise. So it jumped from $30 per hour to eventually $33 per hour in like 6 months. I didn't have any control over that. I didn't know what I did, right or wrong. I just got that pay raise, and that was from like the higher ups. So just a quick recap, starting from like 2013 from my first restaurant job, making like $5 an hour, to right now, or I guess back then, making $33 per hour starting 2018. I mean, it's just mind-blowing. I used to be like a low-grade peasant working less than minimum wage to, eventually acquiring like full-time benefits and all that good stuff. I mean, you look back at it and it's like, wow, I don't even know what I did. Or, just time flies, or the skills I gained made me deserve it. And you feel really happy because you deserve it. So that was the last job I had as a research associate for my current job. So I was pretty miserable at that job, the research associate. I only felt miserable because I felt like I wasted my time. There was no growth. I was happy at the time because I made money. I made like $69,000 a year, which I'm pretty sure is like a pretty good bar to have for like recent graduates or people from different countries. But all good things must come to an end. That project eventually got closed. I got laid off, and then I just went searching for another job. So desperately, after like 300 plus job applications later and 6 months of waiting, I eventually got my current position as an environmental engineer. I feel much happier now because I'm actually using the degree that I pursued. I actually, spent 2 years of my life working on getting this degree, and then now I can actually use it. So initially my offer letter said $75,000 a year, which again, this is in California, 2019. Of course, you can know that I was super excited to get this offer because, one, I was unemployed for 6 months. I had no other leads basically, so this is my only offer letter, so of course I'd take it. $75,000 going from like my other job, $69,300 to $75,000. I made more money, and I was like very depressed for being laid off, so of course I would be happy to take anything. And then later on, after 6 months of working there, it went from $75,000 to $78,500. For I don't know what reason. I think the company just got like an extra boost in like revenue or something that they were able to provide more for their employees. So yeah, I don't really have any complaints with that. I'm making much more than I did in my previous jobs, much happier, less stressed. I'm not micromanaged. I'm able to do what I want to do or what I need to do. So I am happy with this position. But that being said, not every single environmental engineer position will be the same as mine. So yes, my job may be chill, but your job as an environmental engineer, it may not be chill, and it all depends on the company and who you work with. So just take my experience with like a grain of salt. Know that it doesn't apply to your life all the time. So yeah, this is basically my experience and my timeline starting from right when I got my first job till right now. From 2013 till 2020, 7 years later, I mean, you can see the progression and you look back at it and say, wow, I used to be super shy, I used to be very sheltered, and then now I'm growing in experience, growing in skills, and increasing in pay. So you're going to be happy when you look back 7 years from now where you started from. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know if you guys like more of this. Just me like sharing my personal experience with you guys. This isn't really me showing off because I started from like less than minimum wage, and I advise everyone to start in that position anyway. I want people to like start off working hard and then realizing the gains later on. I want people to deserve what they have and what they make. So if you start off from the bottom, you'll be more respected. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video, just like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.